Hello and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. This week we travel to Sheffield United in what can only be described as a little bit of a different podcast for us. Of course, this is our away day series, and it is a chilly Sunday evening, James. Welcome back to the podcast. How has the day been?
Well, we lost 1-0. So not as good as it has been to start the season, but nonetheless, always good to go out and watch Watford, especially go to a new stadium with Watford, it was good to share it with our dad and my friend Ward as well. So a good group of us went down to the ground to take in the game. And it was a very interesting game, wasn't it? Really,
It
but
was, yeah.
unfortunately, we didn't quite get the result we wanted in the end, sadly.
No.
But there was a few bits and pieces to pick out,
There
wasn't there?
is, yeah. We'll get into all of that and more in a little bit. This will be a little bit of a shorter podcast to the usual one because it's a different type of podcast for any of those who weren't around for our last one, which was Leicester
Yeah.
back in November. So what we do when we're out there is we get some little audio clips. We sort of do an audio log while we're there in the ground, that kind of thing. So you guys will be able to hear that, and then we'll get more into some of the other topics. So without further ado, I think we should start off with actually getting to Sheffield this morning. Hey guys, we've arrived in Sheffield. It's an overcast day. It's 1:15. We're just about to head into town for some food and a drink before the game. James, how are you feeling?
Cautiously optimistic, which is a bad place to be. I think we're going to be wearing our third kit today, which, judging by previous experience, usually results in a pretty catastrophic defeat. So, yeah, I'm a bit more nervous, but I guess that shows that it means something these days, and it matters to us. So, looking forward to going to grab a bite to eat now, and looking forward to see what team Cleverly puts out. I'm sporting the away kit, which was a lovely birthday present from you. So I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to the game. Hopefully the weather improves a bit. It's a bit wet and grey here since we've arrived.
Hopefully our performance is the opposite of wet and grey and miserable. I'm looking forward to it. First game of the season for me. I am. It's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
Yeah, ready to go. And we'll pick this back up inside the ground.
Inside the ground.
Let's do it. Come on, you ones.
Perfect. Well, I think you can all tell from this morning we're feeling optimistic, James, and I think there's good reason for that. From the start of the season that we had, I think a lot of the Watford fans that travelled north to Sheffield were in a similar boat to us. Still with the third kit curse that we cannot seem to shake. It is a lovely kit, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of felt very optimistic heading into today. We knew it was going to be a challenge, and it would be the biggest test to Tom Cleverly this season. But yeah, initial thoughts, it was an overcast day, and we travelled in high spirits, James. Anything else to add to that?
Well, I think I think we were just naturally feeling a bit sort of upbeat about how things were going, really, because obviously we started so well. So I think it's natural to be optimistic, and I think for me, I felt like we could go out and get something from the game because, well, one, how poor Sheffield United were in the Premier League last year. That they didn't really put up a fight, and that
No.
I don't think you could describe them as Premier League quality. And they started okay. I know they're technically unbeaten, but they'd had a few draws in there and some interesting draws as well against some. QPR was a draw as well. So
Yeah.
it's not like they'd started the season particularly well. And I just felt like we'd be going to a team that had such a poor season last year, and maybe that the home fans would be a little bit sort of nervous, tentative, and get on the back of them. So yeah, I was feeling a bit optimistic. I thought we could go there and get something, and I think it was all all depended on really what the team was that cleverly put together. I don't think, I wasn't expecting anything particularly drastic. I didn't expect to see any of the new signings on sort of deadline day start at all. So I expected it to be relatively unchanged. But yeah, I think that's the reason why sort of we all travelled up there this morning, feeling relatively optimistic.
Yeah. And I think following on from that, I think we have to just get into our pre-match lineup thoughts and just how we're feeling when we got into the ground.
All right, we're in the ground now, Ned. You've been strip searched, had everything removed from you.
Yeah.
Beer in hand, and the lineups are in.
Yes.
What do you think?
It's unchanged from every other game so far in the league. A lot of new faces on the bench. Ebaseli, Jebison. Looking forward to seeing them come on. Hopefully, I mean, the excitement is building.
It's a lot of Watford fans in the ground now, in good voice as well. So it should be good. The players are out on the pitch. How confident are you feeling now?
More confident than earlier. It's going to be a tough game, but hopefully we can bring home the 3 points.
Indeed. Well, we'll join back in maybe just before kick-off or maybe at half-time.
Yeah.
We'll see how we're getting on. Catch you in a bit.
Yeah, and I think we kind of predicted exactly what was going to happen with the lineup, didn't we, James? No changes whatsoever from any of the other league games. And I think that's what we could kind of expect was going to happen because of how well we played in the league so far. Lots of new faces on the bench, which I was excited about. I really wanted to see some of the new faces come on today. Wanted to see Vata make his debut as well, but I think we could easily agree maybe Brammal Lane isn't the easiest place for somebody to make their championship debut, particularly towards the end of the game, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. But yeah, that kind of leads us into the first half, James.
Oh, yes.
I'll let you talk us through it.
Well, we didn't have long, did we? I mean, that optimism dissipated instantaneously, really. It was from kickoff, caught cold again. With that, it's gone down as an own goal now, hasn't it? For Bachman. I thought it was. To be fair, I thought it was going in from where I was stood. I think it was O'Hare anyway. But really poor goal to concede all round. It just, very quickly they isolated sort of LaRouche, Morris, and they got in behind, and it just felt like we had multiple chances to deal with it, and we didn't. We dived in, we half dived in. There was a bit all very tentative, and O'Hare for Sheffield United just managed to dance around everybody, and then, I mean, it didn't really look like a shot to me. It was almost like it just flicked the ball or poked the ball towards the goal, and I think just we were just all over the place by that point, and 1-0 down inside a couple of minutes, and a real shame because we've actually spent the first 4 episodes of this season not talking about Dan Bachman at all, really. And I mean, he's getting a fair bit of abuse, I think, for that, which not sure necessarily it's all particularly his fault, considering the amount of players Sheffield United managed to get through in order for it to sort of go towards him. So, I haven't actually watched the highlights back yet, so I'll have a proper look at it in a bit. But I would say that's a massive team failing. To start so slowly and so poorly, and like we were just saying, the last thing we wanted to do was give Sheffield United a leg up, because if you can keep them quiet, they'd get frustrated. And we just handed them the lead, and I think that was the worst bit, really. And then you kind of worry, like, oh, good, where's this going to go? But I must say, I thought actually after the goal, I thought we grew into it quite nicely. It was very much an even contest. We were going forward, knocking the ball around quite nicely, and then we started to break the lines, get the ball wide, and get into some dangerous areas and force some corners. Now I'm going to embarrass myself a little bit now, because I can't remember in the chaos of that first half. I say chaos. But I can't remember whether or not Bio goes through 1-on-1 with that sort of lovely ball over the top from Pollock
Yeah.
before the penalty. I can't remember, but I'm going to talk about the bio miss anyway now because, I mean, I don't know about you. We were talking in the ground. I just think he just doesn't have that natural instinct to finish. It's
No.
frustrating. Well,
Very
you need
frustrating, yeah.
I think I remember us saying, "There's no way Rajovic gets on the end of that chance."
No.
But if Rajovic had got the end of that chance, he'd have finished it, in my opinion, because he's got that instinct. So
Yeah.
you were crying out for Jebison really, or what we hope Jebison will be, to be that sort of fast player in behind it who can finish. But it was a gilt-edged chance, and I think we all sort of looked around and we knew that was a big moment in the game because we needed to get something from that. Not least because I thought we'd actually played well enough to earn a goal. But I mean, I don't know what you think about that by a chance.
Yeah, it's I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of Bio gets on the end of it. He just doesn't have the instinct. It obviously from our perspective, Bio to the goal might not have been as close as we thought it was from where we were sitting, but it's a one-on-one chance, and all he has to do is the keeper comes out, he lifts it over him, it's just wide. It's really frustrating.
The more it was. I know the ball was sort of traveling away from him. It was sort of curving away from him, but still, all you need to do is just get your toe on it and lift it.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like it. Of all of the chances you would want to get, that one through on goal just to lift it over the keeper. Surely, as a striker, that's.
It should be a bread and butter finish for any striker in the Championship, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a chance that you have to score away at a team like Sheffield United. We're not going there now in 2024 as favourites to go up in the Championship, favourites to tear up trees away from home. Yeah. You have to score chances like that, and it's so frustrating that a chance like that goes missing. I agree though. I think we played well in that first half, bar the first 3 minutes where we just had not got going. It really seemed like we took the game to Sheffield United. We were competitive. We moved the ball nicely. Got the ball wide. Larousse looked good before he completely gassed himself out for some reason. That was the only problem, I think. That the winger Rakesaki, I think that's his name.
Rakesaki. Yeah,
he looks very good, and
fair play.
Isolating Larousse and Morris. With him, with the ball going, pretty much at full tilt against them is really difficult to defend against, and on a number of occasions he managed to get through them and have a shot on goal, and I think we defended quite well, blocking shots, coming out to meet the ball. I think Pollock had another good game, winning a lot of headers up against Kiefer Moore, which is no easy task.
Nope. No, he put himself out about, didn't he, Kiefer? Obviously, a big talking point from Kiefer in that first half was the penalty save, where Bachmann sort of does what he does best.
Yeah,
he makes saves. Hell of a penalty save. Really good penalty save.
I watched the highlights back. There's absolutely no contact. It was not a penalty. And I didn't want to get onto the standard of refereeing this early, but it was really poor all afternoon. I think both sets of fans could agree it was poor. From the Sheffield United fans, we could see in the ground they were visibly agitated come the end of the game with a lot of decisions. Lots of the Watford fans are very agitated with the decisions, and I think it just comes from a lack of inconsistency across the game. But we'll stick to the first half for now. Wasn't a penalty, but Dan Bachmann pulls out another great save. I think that's he's saved both his last two penalties against him now, hasn't he? Was Hull the last one at home that he saved against Tufan?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in good shape. It was a well struck penalty, wasn't it? Sort of going down to
Yeah,
Backman's left, and he got a
really
big
in the
strong
corner
arm.
as well. So
Yeah, so it was all
a
good.
quality save. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he gets a lot of stick, Backman. And I know a lot of people will be giving him stick for the goal. Um, so early on, I
yeah,
don't think you can blame that Backman for that at all. Like you said, it was just a mix of too easily O'Hare managing to get down the
yeah.
right hand side. Ciralta dives in far too early. He just tiptoes around him, and then it's kind of a cross come shot that he just sort of flicks towards the goal, and it kind of goes past everyone, um,
Yeah.
and just squirms its way into the goal. I don't think you can blame Backman for that completely. Um, Although I'm
Hey,
sure there are some
there
Watford
will be
fans that
some.
will.
There will be some. I think we spoke about getting ahead of ourselves, and being way too optimistic for this game, etc. etc. And that comes with the squad and where the squad is at the moment. I don't believe you're going to easily be able to replace Backman.
No.
For what he brings you, shot stopping wise. I mean, he saved a penalty. He saved an excellent 1-on-1 in this
Yeah.
game. His distribution isn't what it was, but then also or isn't what you would necessarily want. But I
Yeah.
also don't think this system is based on him playing out from the back necessarily. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know about you, but I felt going in at half time like all we needed to do was come out for the second half and just tighten up on some of the mistakes,
Yes. Yeah.
giving the ball away too cheaply, or it felt like we just needed one ball to drop for us, and then we'd be right back in the game
Mm.
because it felt very very competitive, and I felt like we were actually doing pretty well up until half time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was competitive. I think we just needed we've been saying this for so long in the podcast. It was just the final ball.
Mm.
We played some nice stuff around the middle. Worked the ball wide nicely. Had a few good balls in behind in that first half. That Bayer managed to get on the end of, and it really did just seem like a couple of inches between losing and finding a goal and getting back into the game. But yeah, I think we'll get into our half-time thoughts, and then we'll get into some topics for the second half.
All right, well, it's half time, 1-0. We conceded a really sloppy goal literally in the first minute. If you can't tell, my voice is almost gone already. I was a little bit ill before we travelled up here. But we've grown into the game. We've looked decent. Bayer should have scored. We also had a shout for a penalty, but the ref's not giving us anything. Should be good for the second half. Want some changes. Would like to see Ebaseli or Eberson or Vata off the bench. Just think we need a bit of pace going forward.
Yeah, and Eberson we did see later on. No Vata or Ebaseli as of yet. We kind
Nope.
of spoke about Vata beforehand.
Mm.
And yeah, that we kind of epitomised what we said in the first half in that one clip there. It did
Yeah.
just feel like we needed something off the bench to give us a bit of something in that second half, and the second half kind of started in a similar way that the first half did. Immediately, Larousse goes sprinting forward. Obviously, had a little bit of a rocket from Cleverley at half time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Raksaki was in behind, and it was another good block that stopped him from pretty much an almost certain goal, because that was travelling at some whack
Yeah.
onto the net. But yeah, the second half really, it kind of came and went, didn't it? There wasn't many chances for us in it. Sheffield United had a couple of chances towards the end of the game on the break with Backman, doing well with that 1-on-1 and but yeah, nothing crazy really happened in the second half other than the refereeing sort of managed to get worse from the first half, James, and
Yeah. But I think for me, Sheffield United managed the game very well.
Mm.
I think they sort of sucked the life out of it as best as they could.
Yes.
We were our own worst enemy, I felt, because we just gave the ball away too cheaply. For the entire game, the second half was worse. We had a number of times where we had chances on the counter and we wouldn't get the pass right, or we would choose to make the wrong decision, or we'd be caught offside, or and you're talking fine margins. You would Sheffield United would just get a little toe on the ball and it would just slow the whole thing up, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. So it was bitty, and it broke down, and we tried to change the system. We went to a back four, with Morris coming off, and he was replaced by Barr, but then Sema went to left back,
Mm.
and I just don't think that worked. I'm afraid,
No.
it just didn't feel like it quite clicked. And I know Chuck Vertadze has had such a good start to the season for us, but it didn't quite happen for him to this
No.
afternoon. He just couldn't quite get. He couldn't quite get the ball in the areas that he wanted it. So yeah, it was. I think it just got more and more frustrating as that second half went on.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that we were speaking about during the match was the press just felt like it was all off.
Yeah.
I think that front three pressed really, really high,
Mm.
and then the midfield did nothing. They sat deep,
Yes. Yeah.
and
It
I
felt a
think
bit disjointed,
it
and
was all. It broke up,
it
didn't it? Yeah.
allowed Sheffield United to execute their game plan perfectly, to be honest. Literally
Yeah.
just sucking in the front three and then moving the ball to either Harmer or Barlaster. Barlaster, is it?
Arblaster.
Arblaster, sorry. But yeah,
Yeah.
they managed to break out of that really well. And then, yeah, it was a bit bitty. Lots of free kicks and fouls given against us.
Mm.
And then lots of them not given for us. I've had a chance to see that Harmer tackle again on Dele Bashiru, and it is not a pretty tackle at all. He managed to get away with only a yellow card, but I don't think any Sheffield United fans could complain if that was a red card.
I mean,
it was not a good tackle.
There was so much wrong with it. But I mean, yeah, no, it's easy to pick on referees, especially if you're if your team's lost.
Mm.
But I'm just what I get really frustrated with is where referees just seemingly either make it up or they're just inconsistent with their decisions.
Yeah.
Because I personally felt that this afternoon, Andrew Kitchen, you're on the list, but he let the game. He lost control of the game completely.
Yeah, and then tension
from
boiled over.
And that's what led to what happened at full time. Because he was allowing stuff to develop and build up because he was giving fouls for one thing and not the other.
Yeah.
Because he was being just so pernickety with the rules, and this is the EFL's fault as well because they instill the rules,
Yeah.
but they never enforce. Give it 10 games mid-November, and the rules they're enforcing now. Like Sierralta got booked for requesting that somebody get a yellow card, right?
Yeah.
That won't happen in 10 games time.
No,
They'll have forgotten about that.
absolutely
So I'm just sick of the really, really poor standard of refereeing across the Football League, and you could talk about the Premier League, but they're just so inconsistent. And the assistant referees, as they want to be called these days, they just stand there. They never make a decision.
No.
I know they're mic'd up and they're talking, but they just look completely clueless. Oh, I'm getting angry just thinking about it now. But yeah, I was really disappointed again with just another referee that seemingly just is not willing to make a decision, make a big decision. For fear of ruining the game, or in his mind ruining the game, because you end up then getting situations where Dele Bashiru is cleaned out by Gus Hamer. If Hamer got that wrong, he could have really, really hurt Dele Bashiru.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't want. What I'm trying not to do is come across like I'm bitter because we lost again football. This is replicated week in, week out for all teams, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of that situation for referees losing it.
It really did seem, and I know this is going to come across like you said, like we're just bitter because we lost the game. But it did just seem like they're so picky with certain things, trying to take a free kick quickly, and it's it's not in the right spot for the referee to decide. Even though he's not, it's not a direct free kick or whatever, so they can't really, they don't draw the line around it with the foam. It really did break up the second half and broke up any sort of momentum we had, and I think that's what that's what a Chris Wilder side wants to happen. They don't want it. They don't want another side to build up momentum, and I just think the referee allowed them to do that. And I know the Sheffield United fans weren't happy with the referee either, and I think that this is what we're trying to say is that the standard across the board for every team is the same, and it isn't good enough. And it's not because they're not qualified. It is just because the EFL brings in these rules that they try and stick to an absolute T at the start of the season. And then
it's ridiculous.
Come November and December, the rules have completely gone out the window. But yeah,
it was the same when I went to. It's the same with MK Dons and Plymouth early in last couple of weeks. They have similar things. You can just tell the pattern of a referee. It's first 15 minutes, big challenge. He won't give anything he'll be talking to. Middle half of the game, he's happy to give a red if it's a bad foul. But a team could be time wasting from. We had it last season where teams would come to the Vic and just park the bus, slow it down, time waste from minute one. And yet they'll only give a yellow card for time wasting within the last 10 minutes of the game. Always the same, and it's just it's
very frustrating. Back to the football, James.
Yeah, back to the football.
I don't want to waste time on the FRS because it could be a conversation we have week in, week out. Second half we kind of were our own worst enemies. We could not just find that final ball. Jebison looks to be a handful. It just doesn't look like he knows the system yet.
That was pretty clear.
He was kind of moving across the defensive line relatively well, but some of the runs he was making, it just wasn't what Bio and Rajovic have been doing, and it did kind of seem like he's just a bit unfamiliar with the system at the moment, and obviously in time that'll iron itself out, and hopefully he'll come good for us. The reception for him was awful, by the way. I obviously he was there last season and then moved on to Bournemouth, but goodness me, it was very hostile.
They weren't happy, were they?
Him.
I don't know what he did or said.
No, I honestly haven't got a clue, but yeah, it was not the nicest of receptions for him. But yeah, we kind of were our own worst enemies. We had them under a bit of pressure towards the end of the game, but couldn't really make anything fulfilling. Didn't really carve out a good enough chance for anyone, really. There was never an opportunity where somebody can have a clear shot or a clear header or something like that. Just a few corners, and we just had a lot of the ball in their final third and couldn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, it was funny, really, because it was almost like we were trying to set ourselves to put the crosses into the box for Rajovic.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there, obviously.
No.
So, yeah, listen, I think it'll go down as a learning point for the players and for Tom Cleverley.
Yes, yeah.
I think, yeah, to a player, I think they were probably a point or two below where they have been so far at the start of the season, in terms of performance.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, maybe Cleverley's sort of decision-making, substitution system just didn't quite come off today.
No, no.
But I personally think you got to credit Sheffield United in terms of how they defended. They did. Yeah, they played well. Suter, Ahmadzich were very, very good at the back today, and so was that Vinicius Souza. I think, who was also playing at centre back, or he dropped in a fair few times. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
They had some good players, and they did make it difficult for us, which is what we knew we were coming into today.
I think the important thing for us, just to compare to previous seasons, conceding an early goal and then going on to make the game competitive not giving Sheffield United an easy game, as it so often could have been in the past couple of seasons after conceding so early. And the way that we still tried to keep going forward, even though it wasn't coming off at the end of the game. Barr looked very good off the bench, and he has got something about him. We will do a proper segment on Barr in the upcoming weeks, because we find his journey to be absolutely fascinating. But yeah, he came off the bench, looked really good, looked like he could create something. Just that final ball was off. But yeah, one of the main things for me was the way that the fans reacted to the defeat. I think I've managed to get some clips that will be in the vlog for Sheffield United away. But yeah, it was very supportive of Cleverley, very supportive of the players, and that has to be the case. We're not expecting to be in the top 6. We're not expecting to go up in the autos. We're kind of hoping for a top half finish and to do relatively well across the board, not have a good start and tail off completely. But I think we did enough to be competitive today. On another day with another ref, all sorts of stuff could have happened in that game. I think we were unlucky at times, but yeah, like you said, some credit has to go to Sheffield United. They did execute their game plan very well, and they did defend very well. They didn't really give us anything in the second half. But yeah, I think they'll kick on from here, and we'll both sort of find our level in the Championship. But it's not it feels a bit dampening, obviously, to concede and lose at the first game of the season. But I think there's so many more positives to take from it, and the learning curve that it will give Tom Cleverley. Obviously, now it's the international break where we can get everyone fully rested and work with the new signings. Hopefully, we'd get to see Duomo in the next few fixtures in the league, at least. But yeah, international break coming up, James. I don't know if you wanted to sort of discuss our plans for the international break yet, or leave it for now, and it'll be a surprise.
Yeah, we've got some bits and pieces in the works, haven't we? We're trying to get sort of an international break special podcast pulled together. I won't say what it is just yet. Because we're just trying to make the last little bits sort of line up. I don't want to oversell and then under-deliver. But yeah, we've got some stuff coming out over the international break, and I think you're absolutely right, mate. It would be a good opportunity for them to sort of reset. You can, as lots of people saying, you learn more from defeat than you do in victory, which is absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
So I think Cleverley will take a fair amount from this, and I think he'll be happy with actually how the team set out.
Yeah.
And for portions of the game, more than matched Sheffield United. Just were on the wrong side of it today. And I think he'll have learnt a fair bit about some players, and I suspect he's probably got some decisions to make about his starting lineup after the international break.
Yeah, I think this is the important bit though, after a first loss, to see how the squad bounces back. I have no doubt currently that we won't bounce back and perform exactly how we did at the start of the season. Because I think that the determination and the fight is there in the players, whereas in the past couple of seasons it's waned pretty much as soon as we've lost our first game.
Yeah, and it's exactly that, mate, as well, because I think what's really important and what I was actually quite pleased about is Cleverley actually just almost kept the same system. He didn't go, I said, we're going to Sheffield United and away, and I'm going to drop into a low block, and I'm going to sort of make it. We did actually try to go and play our style of football and our system, which I was really happy about.
Very happy, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's still lots of reason to be optimistic that we can have a good season. We can define good later on in the year, I guess. But we lost. They played better. We didn't quite play particularly well. But hey, chin up.
I think that's a fairly good way to end the podcast. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you did enjoy our away days special. Not quite the same as the usual pod that you would usually see. So if you did enjoy, please do drop us a rating on Spotify or Apple if you're listening. And if you're watching, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on the video. If you'd like to see more, I'm sure we can work something out for the rest of the season. But yeah, we'll catch you again very soon, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Take care.
Cheers now.